Hey friend, Brandon here. After all the talk about the Pixel 3a, I had so many of you ask me, should you get the Pixel 3a or the Pixel 2 XL since it's about the same price now? Some of you even asked me if you should upgrade from a Pixel 2 XL to a Pixel 3a or 3a XL. Well, you asked, so I'm making this one for you. Of course, leave a comment to let me know of any other videos you'd like me to make. Here's my guide to help you better think of what option is the right fit for you. With that said, you may want a different device than I prefer or someone else does, and that's totally okay. At the end of the day, I don't mind which phone you get as long as it's the right fit for you. But I will give some opinions and observations along the way for you to consider. This is Brandon's better buy for the Google Pixel 3a devices and the Pixel 2 XL, and you're watching This is Tech Today. Please make sure to share, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of when I post another video, and give this video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And for your convenience, there are links in the description for everything that I mentioned in this video. If you do use them, I do receive a small commission to help support the channel at no additional cost to you, so it's always appreciated when you use those links. Alright, let's get into it. Keep in mind I'm basing the pricing off of brand new devices and the current June 2019 non-beta version of Android P to keep it on an equal playing field. First, let's talk about the display. For the display, the Pixel 3a is a 5.6-inch screen at 1080 by 2220 resolution with a 440 ppi. The Pixel 3a XL is a 6-inch screen at a 1080 by 2160 resolution, which is oddly a lower resolution than the 3a. Either way, it does have a 402 ppi. And then the Pixel 2 XL is also a 6-inch screen with a 1440 by 2880 resolution with a 538 ppi. Now, while the Pixel 2 XL has a much higher resolution, that doesn't mean that it has a better display than the Pixel 3a series. If you weren't around at the time, the Pixel 2 XL launched with terrible displays. In many ways, my channel really started to grow because of my videos on that, but the screens would have terrible black smear, grainy displays, really lifeless and desaturated colors, burn-in, splotches, blue tint, and so much more. It was bad. While it is possible that Google may have fixed the quality of their displays since then, it's still concerning. So far, my experience with the Pixel 3a screen has been amazing, but let's get a bit more scientific and objective. In this Black Crush test, you can see that the Pixel 3a goes up to about box 8 at 24% brightness, while the Pixel 2 XL goes up to about box 10. And Black Crush will make darker content look even darker, or lose detail, kind of like a Game of Thrones battle scene. The details in the darks at a low brightness easily goes to the 3a. Now at 100% brightness, you can see up to about box 5 on the 3a and box 4 on the Pixel 2 XL. Interestingly enough, the details in the darks are slightly better on the Pixel 2 XL at max brightness. Speaking of max brightness, I have this light meter that measures the brightness of a source based on lux. I'm not sure how to convert that to nits, so we'll just stick with lux for this video, but if you happen to know how to do that conversion, please let me know in the comments. When we measure the lux on the Pixel 2 XL, I'm getting a reading of about 649 lux. Now when we compare that with the Pixel 3a, I'm getting 759 lux. That is a difference of 110 lux, which is quite substantial. And that's really something that I've noticed in the Pixel 2 XL. It just seemed really dim in comparison to other phones I've used, especially outside. Now let's talk about audio. One of the biggest changes between the Pixel 3a series and the Pixel 2 XL is a change from having dual front-facing speakers to moving one of the speakers to the bottom of the phone. For me, this is not my preference. As a sound engineer, you always want to have speakers facing towards you because sound's going towards you and not away from you. That's just how sound works. Practically, you are also more likely to cover the speaker with your finger or hand, which is not only frustrating, but it further emphasizes the uneven equalization that phone companies just love for some reason. That's where the high frequencies are in the phone earpiece and the lower frequencies or the fullness is in the bottom speaker. And you can totally test this out on many phones. If you cover up the bottom speaker, it starts to sound really thin. That's because all the high frequencies are on the top speaker. And then alternatively, if you cover up the top speaker, the earpiece, you'll hear all the fullness on the other speaker, the bottom one. But let's get scientific and a little bit more objective. So I do have the sound meter. The way that I measured it is I based it upon the maximum decibel level. So I'll enable this max hold button, and that means that when it reaches a higher decibel level, it'll display the highest amount. So each time it goes higher and higher, it'll display it here. In terms of sound levels, the Pixel 3a is significantly louder than the Pixel 2 XL at about 88 decibels, while the Pixel 2 XL maxed out at about 84 decibels. A 4 decibel difference is noticeable. Now let's listen to what it actually sounds like. you should be able to clearly hear how muffled the Pixel 2 XL sounds while the Pixel 3a sounds very clear. This clarity also helps the Pixel 3a with stereo spread, or how wide and immersive it sounds. I really do think objectively the Pixel 3a is hands down the winner here. There's no contest. It's shockingly a great speaker that is clear, full sound, and immersive, even if I don't prefer the bottom firing speaker. One other consideration is how the speakers on the Pixel 2 XL has a tendency to start crackling as if it's a blown speaker, which is a big deal breaker to me. You can find tons of Reddit posts about this issue, and I even made a video about it. Let's talk about the fit and finish. Speaking of that speaker, on the Pixel 2 XL, the design of the speaker holes are pretty bad, and you can get junk in it real easily, and the mesh is really quite flimsy. You can see how it's really uneven here. It's more kind of like a little cloth rather than a metal. When we look at the Pixel 3a, it's made of polycarbonate or plastic, and while that seems like it could be really bad, Google did an incredible job with the fit and finish on the Pixel 3a. It doesn't feel cheap, it feels smooth, soft, and a little bit lighter than the Pixel 2 XL. For some people that I've talked to, weight is a consideration for some women, as they don't want to put more things that are heavy in their purses, so keep that in mind. So for the weight, the Pixel 3a is 147 grams, the 3a XL is 167 grams, and the 2 XL is 175 grams. The Pixel 2 XL is made of a metal and a kind of plastic type finish over it, so it's not only heavier, but it feels a bit more rigid. While the back has a soft touch feel, it's not as smooth feeling as the 3a series. On top of that, the curve on the front glass is a bit unusual, with a noticeable lip between the glass and the body. It also makes it really hard to find a glass screen protector for it unless you get something like the Whitestone Dome glass, which is something that I personally prefer and can endorse. I even made a video on that if you want to check it out. It is the only tempered glass screen protector that I endorse. As a whole, the Pixel 2 XL has a better back in terms of the strength of materials, but the fit and finish as a whole feels really unrefined and a bit kind of like a reference prototype device compared to the Pixel 3a. And this one has really great transitions, edges, and feel throughout. You can really see that Google has matured with their hardware on this generation of devices. Now let's talk about the performance. For those of you who really care about benchmark tests, here are the Geekbench results. Single core came out to 1630 for the 3a and 1824 for the 2 XL. That is a difference of 211 in favor of the 2 XL. The big difference came in multi-core. That came out to 5146 for the Pixel 3a and 6166 for the 2 XL. That's a difference of 1020 in favor of the 2 XL. This is where the big difference comes into play between the 600 series Qualcomm Snapdragon chips and the 800 series Snapdragon chips. The single core is fairly comparable between the two, but once you get into multi-core tasks, the 800 series will pull ahead. Practically though, I don't really see much of a difference, and I'm never left wanting all that much. Perhaps pictures might take a second longer to process, but that's not too bad. Otherwise, in normal use, everything feels equally snappy and fast for both devices, with the exception of one area: touch. The Pixel 3a does have a slight feeling of not being as responsive to swipes. It's really hard to describe. If you're using the Pixel 2 XL and you imagine putting your finger on a piece of paper and moving it, it's pretty much 1-to-1. On the Pixel 3a, it feels like it's just lagging behind by a few milliseconds, but you really can't see it. But you can kind of feel it in a weird way. I really don't know how else to describe it, but I will say that it's strangely not a deal breaker for me. Why? I mostly notice it after using another device right before it. After a little bit, I just adapt and don't notice it too much. Now let's talk about the battery. So far, using the Pixel 3 has been incredible, and it easily lasts me a whole day without any sort of battery anxiety at all. I easily have about 10 to 20% of battery remaining when I go to bed. With the Pixel 2 XL, I would often need to charge it when I get home from work, despite the fact that the Pixel 2 XL has a 3,520 milliamp battery compared to the 3,000 and 3,700 milliamp battery found in the Pixel 3a and 3a XL respectively. And a big part of that is the higher resolution screen on the Pixel 2 XL, so keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the camera. For the camera, in terms of features and specs, they're nearly the same. So the best thing for us to do is just take some pictures and compare the two. So what do you think of the front-facing camera? I do notice one thing between the two of them, but I want to know if you notice it. For the rear-facing camera, the biggest difference I see here is the white balance, which is consistent for every other photo taken between these two. The Pixel 2 XL tends to make things a bit warm, while the Pixel 3a is more consistent with what a pure white is in terms of white balance. For portrait mode, the rear camera portrait mode feature on the 3a crops in a bit more on your photos, so you want to keep that in mind as it does give you less flexibility. For the front-facing camera, the focal length seems to be the same, so the biggest difference is once again the white balance and saturation. which I do prefer on the Pixel 3a. Both of them did a really great job with their portrait modes, as they usually do. When I tested night sight, it looks like the Pixel 2 XL couldn't focus on the right subject as easily. Even with some assist by tapping on the subject, it just didn't work. As a whole, the 3a looks better, is more saturated, and is able to focus on the subject easily and completely. When we go outside, the color balance for the 2 XL carries over, and there's a noticeable yellow and warm hue between everything else. The 3a just looks more natural and clean, right? And maybe it's just me, but it looks like the 3a sharpens the image just a little bit more, so that may be a good or bad thing depending on your taste. Now, this next one had a lot of drama, and it's the video audio. And of course I made a video on it, but it sounded insanely thin, tinny, and was just like it was put through an awful noise canceling plugin where it just sounded all like warbly and washy. Now it sounds way better after some updates. So which one do you think is better? Let's listen. Alright, this is the Pixel 2 XL. How does the audio sound on the video? And here is the Pixel 3a. How does the audio sound on this one? Which one do you prefer? Go ahead and vote. Now, here are some other considerations. Since the Pixel 3a is a newer device, it will come with software updates for at least 3 years. With the Pixel 2 XL, it'll only have guaranteed updates for another year and a half or so for a total of 3 years of updates. If you plan to keep your phone for a while, this is important to consider. Also, the Pixel 2 XL has IP67 water resistance when the Pixel 3a does not have any water resistance. That may or may not be a big deal for you. While I would like to have waterproofing, just in case, I've personally never had any sort of incident where I would have needed that waterproofing. But that may be something that you absolutely have to have, especially if you have kids. And keep in mind that neither of these have wireless charging. Also, if you need more than 64 gigabytes of space, that's the maximum amount and the only option you have for the Pixel 3a XL, so that may be a big deal breaker. The Pixel 2 XL goes up to 128 gigabytes. And if you want a smaller device, there's at least an option with the 3a. It's a little bit more pocketable, I would say. And I think small devices are back in. I'm a big fan. Now let's talk about the price. One of the biggest selling points for the Google Pixel 3a and 3a XL is that price. You can get them for $399 and $479 respectively at their normal price, and crazy enough, you can often find different promos out there, kind of like a $100 gift card, a $50 gift card, a Google Home Hub, or even a Chromebook. I literally don't know how Google is making any money off of this. Speaking of $50 off, there is a coupon code that I have for that down in the description for the 3a and 3a XL. Now, the Pixel 2 XL is no longer sold on the Google Store, but at the time of filming, you can find it on Amazon for about $30 more than the Pixel 3a and at 128 gigabytes. Now, the difference in price between the 64 gigabytes and the 128 gigabytes on Amazon is negligible, so we'll just consider everything on 128 gigabytes. Now, of course, if you get something like a Pixel 3a and 3a XL, you might be able to get an even deeper discount if you go through a retailer like Best Buy and you sign up for a service contract. But we'll just kind of leave that off the table because we want to have an even playing field. In terms of price, the Pixel 2 XL sits right between the cost of the 3a and the 3a XL, so there isn't really a big difference in price, and it comes down to size preference. And with the 3a, you at least have that option of a smaller or bigger phone. While the price for both of the devices is fairly affordable compared to many other options out there, you'll still want to protect your phone with a ridiculously affordable warranty from this video sponsor, Upsy. While you could use a warranty option from the store or another warranty company, they usually cost more than 2 times the cost of Upsy. But Upsy, they don't overinflate their prices and have low deductibles. If you live in the US, you can start a warranty with their easy-to-use app and protect your Pixel 2 XL or Pixel 3a for 2 years, even from accidental damage like a cracked screen or liquid damage for only $89.99. And of course, they have warranties for many other devices. You don't want to live with regret. Get Upsy by clicking the link in the description and save 10% off your purchase with promo code TECHTODAY. So what is my preference? For me, I personally prefer the Pixel 3a, and here's why. The main things that affect the normal use for your phone are there. The screen is better, the sound is better, the feel is better, the fit is better, the battery lasts longer, the software updates are there for a while, and the photos require less editing to correct the color temperature, and so on. While you could look at Geekbench scores alone, it doesn't really tell you what it's like to use practically every day. And that's why I would suggest picking up the Pixel 3a series if you don't have a Pixel device yet and want to buy one for an affordable price. Now, here's the other question. If you already have a Pixel 2 XL, I'd stick with what you have now. The difference isn't really significant enough to spend the money, in my opinion. Plus, with the Pixel 4 coming out, you may want to save your money for that instead, or trade in your Pixel 2 XL towards that. And that's, of course, if you want to spend money for a premium device over a more budget-friendly device. Of course, my tastes and needs may be different than yours, and you may prefer some of the things I listed off in the 2 XL over the 3A. If that's the case, you should totally go with the one that fits you better, and use the links in the description to do so. At the end of the day, I just want to help you think through what's the best fit for you. So hopefully that does help you better think through the things that matter most to you and what device would better meet your needs. Let me know your thoughts and your preferences after watching this video in the comments below and in the This Is Tech Today community Discord chat. Please join us. Thank you for watching This Is Tech Today, where we talk about the intersection of technology in our everyday lives, in business, and in all things creative. Until next time.